Welcome to the SaaS Revolution Show. Jeff Titterton, CMO at Zendesk. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, great to have you on the show. Where are you calling from today? Looks very sunny and nice.
It is very sunny, San Francisco. We don't always get sun, so I'm going to enjoy the brief moment before the fog rolls in.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. And I guess everybody right now, so we are sort of like end of April, so the 24th of April, I think it is today. So everybody is in lockdown globally. How has sort of lockdown been, for you, I guess being in San Francisco? I guess San Francisco certainly seems to have coped with COVID a bit better than, let's say, New York and even sort of UK and so on.
I have to give our mayor, London Breed, a lot of credit. She was the first mayor in the United States to shut down a city. Turned out to be a really good move in retrospect. Our cases have remained low relative to some of the larger cities in the US. Obviously, New York's been the hardest hit, but we are doing pretty well. We still have cases growing, but definitely under control.
Cool. Good to hear. Good to hear. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to know, who is Jeff Titterton? Let's find out a little bit about yourself as a person and how you've ended up as a CMO at Zendesk.
All right, well, yeah, so I have been in tech in Silicon Valley for more than 20 years. I don't know exactly how many, but it's definitely well more than 20. I was a startup guy for about 15 of those years. So I worked at a series of startups, started out in B2C, did some exciting, fun stuff, wrote a couple of waves, Web 1.0, Web 2.0, et cetera, before moving into B2B. From there, that led me to Adobe, actually. I went and helped Adobe with their transition to the cloud. So Adobe was going through a major shift, as many people know, from, hey, we sell box software at retailers and through channel, and we're going to actually sell direct subscriptions. I had a lot of subscription background. They were looking for someone who knew how to engage customers, understood retention. They brought me in. It was a wild ride of 4 years of insanity as we really learned how to transition to really engaging your customers, talking to your customers and keeping them happy and healthy and sane. That led me to Zendesk. I had always loved Zendesk. Zendesk is a company that I used at the startups that I was at. It was really where we built our customer experience around Zendesk. And then we actually had Adobe as well in various places. And so I knew the company really loved the focus, the product, and the vision, really the CEO's vision of where we wanted to go around this kind of customer experience centered world where the customer's at the center of everything you do. And so I've been there for 3 years, or here I should say for 3 years. It's really been amazing. I love the company.
What's it like? I mean, I only just thought about this question, but Mikkel seems, he's such a big personality and seems like such a friendly personality and like really jovial and fun in everything that he does. What's he like as a CEO and to work with?
He is exactly that. So he is a really funny guy, and he is a startup founder who managed to ride the company up and maintain his CEO leadership all the way through being almost $1 billion in revenue. That is very, very rare, right? And that is because he has this combination of great leadership style. He's incredibly passionate about what we do. He's incredibly passionate about the customer, but he's also just this very nice human being, which I think comes through if you've met him. Sounds like you have. He is just a good human being, and that really creates a great culture that is really rare in my experience. Yeah.
No. As much as I thought. And so before we get into the topic of today, again, just thinking about what's happening in the world right now, and given that you're CMO at Zendesk, I really wanted to kind of ask, how is Zendesk adapting its marketing in these times? And what are you seeing, what is important for marketers, in these times?
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to turn around.
Yeah.
Hold on a sec.
There we go.
Ta-da!
That's better.
The sun is constantly moving here. Okay. Ta-da! All right, better. So can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah. So how is Zendesk adapting its marketing in these times?
So we have been doing quite a lot of changes in our marketing. I think like most companies, particularly B2B companies, have had to make major shifts. So if you think about companies that sell to enterprise, commercial, We do a lot of offline work, right? We talk to companies that we bring them to dinners, we bring them to events, we connect customers with each other. All that came to a screeching halt in early March. We actually were one of the first companies to cancel our global user conference, which was supposed to happen March 3rd in Miami. We had to make the decision 3 days before to cancel, which was a very tough decision. In retrospect, a really good decision. There's stories in the New York Times about other events that didn't cancel in Miami and how they spread the virus. So we were very happy we made that decision. That was just the beginning of frankly, a big pivot in what we were doing. So obviously we've had to move everything online. And that's been actually not bad, because I think we've seen a lot of great response from our customers, and we've really focused on a message of help, right? And we wanted our message to be genuine. We didn't want to send out a, pablum CEO message saying we care very much. We wanted to come out and help our customers. So we launched a bundle of free software that's really helpful specifically for work at home, right? So we have our collaboration products that help people work remotely. We also really wanted to connect leaders. Like if you think of all of that offline work that we do, it's really about connecting leaders with each other to network, to learn, to share. So we've created a lot of that connection online, doing a lot of Zoom meetups, things like that, virtual events, webinars, etc. And I think the response has been really good. And I actually think it might change our go-to-market permanently, right? We know this crisis will last a pretty long time, hopefully not forever. And but it also is showing us a more agile way that we can work.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I mean, beyond, let's say, how we operate as businesses and how we, work with our customers, which I think there's going to be definitely some benefits, out of what we're going through, in that respect. I mean, obviously the world, perhaps, in many ways is going to change for the better, so our businesses, our messages, our relationships with our customers and the world, and perhaps it has taken this unfortunate event for us to kind of get here. And I guess nobody, wished that it had happened, but there will be some good things that will come out of it. I'm sure.
I agree. One thing that I think it's really important for companies to do is look at their message and say, is my message helpful in this time? So for example, we're in the lucky position, I suppose, that a lot of our core values as a company, really fast time to value, set up easily, easy to use, easy to deploy, really makes sense now, right? As opposed to some companies where they have to send in consultants and get everything set up and it takes 6 months. We've been able to help a lot of companies very, very quickly. And so our message didn't have to adapt too much. Some of my colleagues at other companies have had to really pivot more dramatically their message and how they actually think about approaching customer relationships.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what we want to talk about today is something that you've got a lot of experience in terms of, when you should be considering moving from single product to multi-product, or actually, growing from single product to a multi-product company, right? Again, I think I mentioned to you sort of like earlier, for me, super interesting right now. And I imagine actually probably for a lot of companies and founders, marketers and so on that are listening, because right now, let's say what we've had to go through is, we started the year as, an events business, right? And then when coronavirus, kind of hit, we were in a very bad industry, in a very bad place to kind of be in, right? And actually that focus that we've had, for 4 years, that single-minded focus, just to, put all other product considerations on the shelf, actually put us in a bad position, kind of earlier on, in the year. Well, actually 4 weeks ago, right? It's not so long ago. And again, there are kind of many, whether you're a SaaS company or a different type of company, you're either looking at, pivoting, reinventing, moving online, launching new products, right? To find these new streams where actually that you can generate probably revenue right now. So yeah, there's an interesting point about, obviously, again, it being topical right now, but in general, like, we want to kind of pick your brains on, how do you grow from single product to multi-product, and not just make it all about COVID, for sure. So I guess on that basis, let's learn a little bit about your experience there in you know, what you've done from moving from single to multi sort of product, and then we can maybe go into some of the questions that I've got around that for my own benefit, but for the audience as well.
Yeah, I've been doing this my whole career, so I won't list all of the product offerings. I think it's a very, very common thing that companies do because, you know, there are high expectations, whether you're a private company and your VCs are there, or you're a public company and the street wants more. There is always going to come a time, and it comes for everyone, including Google, right, where that one huge revenue stream is not going to keep up the growth expectations. And besides that, we also want to diversify because it's risky to only have one revenue stream. So every company has this aha moment of, wait, if I launch a product, additional offering, additional service, I am going to make more money, make my customers happier, and make, of course, my investors happier. So again, I've done this at larger companies like Zendesk, like Adobe. I've done it at the startups I worked in. The lessons apply everywhere. The funny thing is everyone seems to learn the same mistakes over and over again. And I see it in a lot of our other companies, you know, sister companies that we work with. So I think the first thing I would really say is look at the product that you're thinking about launching and do the research to make sure that it actually is applicable and desired by the people that you are already selling to. You know, there's lots of studies out there that show that the more closely related a product is to a core offering that a company offers, the more successful it will likely be. The more steps you remove, if you try and go really, really far, that's really challenging. An example of something that went well was Adobe Creative Cloud, where I worked, right? Obviously, this is the design, you know, powerhouse, the juggernaut, bought a stock company, right? A stock photography video company. What a great tangential offering, right? Because the audience all uses it. And Adobe did all that research to make sure that was true. Doesn't mean it was an easy transition, but it really was a great alignment between those two products. There are many other times where companies go, oh, it'd be really cool if I did this thing. It's too far removed from the core of what the customer wants. That makes you set up for failure.
Yeah, no, good lesson. What else within your career have you seen that you know, when is the time right? You talked about like there's these aha moments, and you think, okay, well, I either need to diversify because there's risk, or you know, we need to generate more revenue, and then adding these products. In general, are these the kind of two core kind of areas that you see as to why people would launch products and start to kind of look at doing this? You know, has that been the case with you?
Yeah, I mean, the third one, which is the best one, is when customers are asking for it. I think, you know, if you look at businesses like ours, so, you know, Zendesk has added additional products over time because customers really wanted it. We added self-serve products. We added social messaging. We just added as a new product offering. And that is because our customers were saying, you know, I need social messaging as a product that I can communicate with customers. We recently launched a sales tool, Sell, which is through a company we purchased. The reason for that is customer support, selling, marketing is all coming together more and more in this new world, right? And so our customers are asking for this. We do that research, and that's the best way to figure it out. I think the worst way can sometimes be an investor tells you about it, or you're urgently seeking new revenue streams. Yeah.
So one of the first steps is this kind of customer research, right? So just to make sure that you know, the customers do want this product, and you're not building something that's not wanted and you know, fails in a few months' time or so on. What about the next steps, and what should we be considering after we've done the research?
Yeah, I mean, once you've done the research and you've decided that you want to do this product, I think the key very first thing you need to do is set realistic expectations. I have made this mistake many times. I think everyone thinks, oh, you know, I have this one product that did amazingly well. My next one is going to just do just as well. The realities are that there was a combination of luck, amazing work, product market fit at the exact right time that caused your first product to do well. The chances that the stars are going to align that perfectly on your next one are lower. And so setting those realistic expectations out the gate is really important, because what happens often in companies is what companies end up doing is they end up basically putting too much emphasis on their secondary product because it's their new baby, right? It's their new shiny object that everybody's obsessed with. And that's a huge mistake that I've seen companies make over and over again. I've made those mistakes myself. Is you should always know that your core product is your superstar, right? It's your 800-pound gorilla. It is the thing that is the most important to you. Don't mess with it, right? You need to set realistic expectations up front so that you aren't over promoting it, putting it out there too much at the expense of your core. There's lots of examples here that I think companies have done pretty well. Like Uber is a good example of a company that, of course, is now struggling a lot, but excluding global pandemics, had Uber, the car ride side of things, but added Uber Eats. But they aren't sitting there saying, let me constantly spam my users with Uber Eats messages. They're finding good ways to promote that are more subtle, that are a nice additional benefit to the customer, as opposed to trying to replace the core product offering.
Are there any circumstances where you would ever launch more than one product at a time? Or is there a particular kind of process where it would be one product per quarter, one per year, see if that works, move on to the next one?
I'm a big believer in like one at a time. I mean, they are hard to do, and they require, adding a new product requires a lot of thought, a lot of research, a lot of expertise, and no product launch is going to go amazingly well, because you're going to have to work out the kinks, right? Especially if you build it on your own, you're going to have to work out the kinks. And if you acquire and integrate, of course, that adds a big additional layers of complexity of bringing together all the data, the technology, et cetera. So I have tried to do more than one at a time. It's a mistake, in my opinion.
Would you, so let's say we decided if we're building internally a new product, the research is there and this proves that this is the one that we're moving forward with. How do you then sort of determine who within the company to kind of put on that product? And what does that initial team look like?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think the way to do it, which I've seen most successful, is to create a small tiger team, or whatever you want to call it, like almost a little startup team within the company first. Where companies often struggle is when they say, their big juggernaut team, they say, oh, we're also going to have you do this other product. The benefit of doing that, of course, is you get all of the resources of all of those teams. The negative of doing that is all of those teams have full-time plus other jobs. And so they're going to give it that extra 2% at the end of a 10-hour day, which means you're going to get pretty low quality work product. So there's a phase there where you say, hey, you small team of startup entrepreneurial types, and that's a key thing. You got to get people who love that creation motion, right? You're not having stewards in the early days who are going to keep it going. You're having experimental startup types, and they exist in big companies and small, of course, who are willing, ready, able to test, learn, fail, and get excited by that motion. There's that first phase of doing that, and that's where you prove it, right? You're proving that it works, because a lot of these are going to fail. They do. Most babies never make it to the toddler phase in this world, right? And that's okay. You have to be willing to accept that and know that and not worry too much about it. But you're going to want those people to get it to that certain level. Then there's this second phase, which is mainstreaming it, right? Once you've proven it, then your core teams can start to integrate it in. I think one thing that's really important in that is you need to maintain one person who is the evangelist for that new product, right? They may not, if you're mainstreaming into all of your organization, it can easily get diffused into that organization and again lose its power to get things done and to get the right promotion it needs, the right prominence it needs, whether that's with sales teams, marketing teams, on the website, whatever. So having that evangelist who is pushing people to kind of continue that dream is super important as well.
A two-part question here. So the product is ready. and now we have to launch it, right? And so the first part of the question is launching your first new product, or your second product, as it were. What are your kind of considerations or marketing tips for this? And then I think you touched upon it a little bit, sort of like previously. And then when you become a multi-product organization down the line, you know, what are the considerations in marketing for multi-product organizations?
Yeah, good question. So I'd say that the first launch is, it's an expectation setting, I think, is the most important thing. Unless you're Apple and you're launching the new iPhone or whatever, or some huge new hardware offering, very few launches are you're going to get some interesting vertical press. You're going to get some tire kickers interesting. You'll get your early adopters in, and then you enter the slog, right? Unless you've created a world-changing product offering, which most of us haven't, 99% of the time haven't, you're in for a test, learn, iterate, slowly grow up. And, you know, hopefully slowly is 50% a year or 100% a year up front when it's little, but it's not going to be 400% a year, 500% a year like some people really want. I think there's a lot of challenges as you get, it's sort of a challenge and an opportunity as it becomes more of a mainstream product. There's a beautiful simplicity of a one product company, right? Is what's going to go on the homepage? Well, we already know it's the one product, right? What do you do in checkout? Oh, the one product. What are you going to email them about? The one product, right? It's very, very easy. What are your sales teams going to sell? The one product. Very, very simple. Your enablement's about one product, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As you get into 2 or 3 or 5 products, what is the homepage about? That's a debate, right? What is the checkout? Checkout becomes this potential monstrosity. And trust me, I have worked through this challenge. Like, go look at the checkout of companies that offer multiple products to the same buyer. It is a mess often. It is very, very hard, and the customer is the one who suffers, right? The technologies I think you really need to invest in are segmentation, personalization technologies, because you should be able to offer different products to different people based on what you know about them, right? So that's one thing. You need to invest in data, of course, so that you can say, this is the right time for me to introduce this new product to this customer. Early on, you're probably, for the most part, offering your 800-pound gorilla product. That's what you should be hitting on. That's the main value to the customer. But you will learn to identify times where in the customer journey you should be introducing secondary products and getting those customers going. Again, to use that Uber example, really getting them to take the first ride is the most important thing, getting them to put in their credit card. Downstream, offering Uber Eats for when they're hungry and at home is a nice secondary thing.
Have you seen cases, I guess we bring it to SaaS, of successful $100 million SaaS companies that have a single product focus, or has everybody that's got to that kind of level become a multi-product company at that point?
100 million you can get to. $1 billion, I think, is a lot harder, right? I mean, if you ever, I don't know if you've seen these charts of SaaS companies and how many make it to 100 million. There's actually quite a few. It's really hard to get 100 million, right? Yeah. But then the drop off to $1 billion is massive, and then the drop off to 2-3 billion is even more massive. So I tend to look to the very large companies out there, right? Like the Adobe's, my old employer of the world, the Oracles, all of those folks. None of them are single product companies. These SaaS companies have all diversified a lot. Now they may have a sweet spot, right? Like Adobe outside of creative marketing is its sweet spot, right? Salesforce sales is its sweet spot, right? Et cetera, et cetera. But they all have broadened their offering. That's both additional products for that same buyer, and that is additional buyers, which is a whole other podcast about selling to a different buyer. Adds like a huge additional complexity to your work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The final question, we always bring it back to our guest, and you mentioned at the beginning around, you know, helping your customers stay healthy and sane. And actually our final question is always, how do you stay healthy and sane? You know, as an exec at you know, a multi-billion-dollar, you know, SaaS company, you know, it can't be easy. But what are your tips to staying healthy and sane?
Great question. There's sort of normal sane and then there's COVID sane, honestly, yeah. But I'll talk about both. I think normal sane is I'm an exercise junkie. So I, before COVID, used to do Barry's boot camps all the time and would do my own workouts. I run half marathons, used to run marathons, things like that. COVID, I now do Peloton inside and I do Freeletics, which I was chatting with you about, I think right before this, which is an awesome app and also a Zendesk customer, which I love. I try to meditate. I often fail at it because usually I get up, my meditation slot gets eaten by email.
Yeah.
The big thing in this COVID world that I've really tried to focus on is frankly being grateful that I am in the very, very lucky position relative to 90 whatever % of the world of having a job, having a home, having a healthy family, and being in a place where I work at a company that can help other companies, right? And who can then help end users. I think I will say we all can tell that people are a lot more stressed right now. It would be shocking if they weren't. I try to go in every morning saying, how can I help people more in this moment? Because I know that they're suffering. I don't always succeed at it, frankly, but I certainly try my best.
Yeah, no, it's a good mindset to have. And I mean, as I say, we were sharing the similar or almost the same, COVID sort of workout. And likewise, I think just because of, the way the world is at the moment, I think, as you said, everybody's feeling a bit more stressed. So I've, picked up the meditation again, because again, it's kind of, it got a little bit sort of like disrupted, for me, thinking that I didn't have those 10, 15 minutes, in the morning, going too easy to go to email or so on. But I picked it up again. Let's see if I can keep that habit. And hopefully it
does work, doesn't it? It's amazing. Yeah. It's I joke with my friends who are kind of exercise junkies like I am, that for some reason we can put hours into that, but that 15 minutes to meditate feels like too much. That tells us we're probably imbalanced and we really need to rebalance.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, Jeff, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. Really appreciate your time and sharing those lessons, in growing, some multi-product companies. So Jeff Titterton, CMO at Zendesk, thanks so much.
Thank you.